Good morning, Moonhaven Falls. This is Audrick Cashmere bringing you a special fast-breaking report from the Eastern Bridge. The Fade hunting party, which marched into the dark, damp depths of the Shadowfen several weeks ago, has returned. Now, before everyone gets concerned, let me lead with the light. I am incredibly relieved to report that every single adventurer who marched out has in fact returned alive. However, the Shadow of the Fen does not yield its secrets easily. The report is, at best, a deeply mixed parchment. While the party successfully cornered the Fade, the elusive entity managed to slip through their fingers, utilizing what survivors are describing as a highly volatile, unknown magical artifact that has apparently been drained of its power. The toll on the expedition was quite heavy, however. Nearly a third of our brave volunteers have returned to the temple with severe battle wounds, and a handful are currently being treated for some incredibly nasty swamp-borne poisons. We are sending our warmest thoughts, and Elara Meadowlight's strongest antivenoms their way. But the hunt is far from over. Station Associate Timmy is live at the Eastern Gate right now with the leader of the expedition, who is apparently preparing to head right back into the fray. Timmy, are you there?
I'm here, Audrick. Yes, I'm standing at the edge of the eastern lake, where the remaining uninjured members of the hunting party are frantically packing fresh rations and checking their quivers. Beside me is the brother Scribefeather, looking incredibly beat up as though he's rolled in mud. Brother Scribefeather, thank you for stopping for the Crystal Network before you head out.
Yes, well, it is a brief window, young Timmy. Extremely brief. The ink is drying on the new maps as we speak, and the trail is warm but cooling quickly despite our best efforts. What exactly do you require? Please, speak, swiftly.
Right, yes, the town wants to know what happened out there. We heard whispers of things in the swamp.
The catalogue of terrors? The entire trip was quite fascinating, if an entirely harrowing, ecological disaster. This Shadowfen has bred things that should not be, and ambush was a regular occurrence. In addition to the known local creatures, we also encountered a pack of spectral canine, ghost dogs of a sort, that phase-shifted right through our frontline fighters. Then came a flock of lepidarian nightmares that we have catalogued as mothmen. Creepy things. Very dusty wings.
Mothman?
Oh, that's standard fare compared to some of the others. We were ambushed by a particularly vicious devil monkey. Nasty, bad-tempered beast. But here's the kicker, Timmy. My quick planar check showed it was entirely native to our plane. A naturally occurring, deeply malicious creature, looking like a kangaroo crossed with a primate. Shocking. Truly. Though the same cannot be said for the Capron we fought.
Goat folk? Aren't they usually quite peaceful? Why would you be fighting traitors?
Corrupted Capron, Timmy. Yes, and they screamed. Oh, how they screamed. They wouldn't stop attacking long enough for us to get a word in edgewise. But, in my professional opinion, extraplanar corruption possibly summoned beings from the lower planes. Sadly, I didn't have time to, examine a specimen.
And the Fade? How did it escape?
An aboleth, Timmy. A massive, telepathic monstrosity of the deep waters. The Fade somehow riled it up, or perhaps bargained with it to block our path. It was a magnificent but terrible battle. We did successfully slay the beast, I must note, a triumph for the archives. But the distraction was precisely what the Fade needed to activate an artifact from a nearby ruin and vanish. Luckily, I managed to tag it with an experimental pre-cast version of the Mark of Justice that my order helped me prepare when I volunteered to hunt this creature down. Unfortunately, the mark is already showing signs of fading, if slowly.
So you're going back after it?
Yes, Timmy, immediately! The uninjured and I must keep the pressure on. The Fade was wounded, and hopefully also drained from the artifact's use. We cannot give it time to rest. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must ensure those coming with me have re-provisioned. Good day to you, Timmy.
Good luck, brother. May your eyes see true. Back to you, Audrick.
Excellent reporting, Timmy. Stay safe out there. Now, for those of you looking to assist or willing to brave the swamp, now that the worst of the threats are likely removed, there has been an official ruling from the plateau. Lord Kendrick, upon receiving Brother Scribefeather's preliminary report regarding these new swamp horrors, has issued a decree. He is officially lowering the Shadow Friends' threat level from an 8 to a 6. Yes, you heard me right, folks. While the edges of the fen might be safe enough with precautions, Lord Kendrick's guard has announced that only silver rank adventurers and above are permitted to enter the deeper parts of the Shadow Fen. Furthermore, Lord Kendrick highly discourages anyone under gold rank from seeking out the ruins or the unknown monsters directly. So, to our local novices and bronze rank hopefuls, please keep your swords in their scabbards and leave this particular swamp crawl to the veterans. You're listening to Audrick Cashmere with the Crystal Network.
Greetings, Seekers of Destiny, and welcome once more to the Arcane Whispers of Elara Meadowlight. 14 days have now been joined to the great Wheel of Intent, drifting like sparks in the twilight, since the silver-toned fountain offered its first heavy, sweet water to our town. 44 weeks now stand between us and the Phoenix's initial, fiery ascension. A long and winding climb that has brought us to a peak where the air is very thin. Today, however, the web of necessity is vibrating with a high, discordant whine. The magic that flows through Moonhaven Falls is no longer a quiet, steady stream. Instead, it has begun to crackle. A woodcutter coming down the steep trails of the Serpent's Tooth Mountain reports a phenomena that has set my own scrying crystals to ringing like struck glass as I tried to spy it. A dense, bone-dry fog has begun to spill over the northern peaks. It does not dampen the skin. Instead, it carries with it a relentless, ethereal charge. He has reported that his iron axe began to spark when brushed against the pine trees, that his hair stood upon end, and the air carried a sharp and unmistakable scent of ozone and burnt sugar. This is the omen of the border ethereal. It is a herald of magical instability, a period of intense spiritual friction and volatile energy, where the very fabric of our magic is becoming charged and possibly erratic. A time of tribulation once more rolls down upon us, Moonhaven, and the air itself warns us to prepare. A special note on the border ethereal sighting. The vision of the border ethereal is an omen of spiritual friction, of unpredictable currents, and the gathering of a great yet unseen storm. Our world is adjusting to massive, unknowable shifts, and the resulting static will make even the simplest tasks feel heavy and erratic. Your magic may falter, your instinct may misfire, and your temper may spark without warning. For all, this signifies a period where you must ground yourselves. Do not force your will upon the world right now. Instead, find a way to bleed off the excess tension before misfortune strikes. For those of you born under the sign of the Whispering Willow, that is, mid-spring to early summer, the border ethereal threatens to dry out even your greenest leaves. You may find your thoughts racing, unable to find the quiet focus that you usually command. The air itself may feel overcharged, and your sensitive spirit will soak up this friction. Seek out the deep, damp earth to ground your frantic energy. The murmuring of the Moonhaven Falls now sounds to you like a low, electric hum, advising you to let the excess current wash over you without holding on to it. A flower in an exposed, dry location is your token of enduring, grounded strength. For those of you born under the sign of the Soaring Griffin, that is, late summer to early autumn, for you, Griffins, the static from the border gathers upon your feathers, making every movement feel heavy and sluggish. Your sharp vision may become clouded by the shimmering distortion of the mist that surrounds you. Your plans may experience a sudden, jarring interruption. Do not try to fly through this lightning. Wait instead for the currents to steady. The distant roar of the falls for you echoes with a sharp, crackling resonance, advising you to keep your talons grounded in the earth today. A sudden, unexpected spark from a metal tool is your token this week, a reminder of the raw, dangerous energy currently moving through your world. For those of you born under the sign of the deepening mire, that is, mid-autumn to early winter, the dry, uncharged ethereal boundary is the antithesis of your still, quiet depths. You may feel a deep sense of irritation or restlessness, as though the world around you is trying to evaporate your peaceful waters. Protect your inner sanctuaries. Keep those secrets close. Do not let this erratic energy pull you into an unnecessary conflict. The slow, persistent trickle of the falls seems to hiss as it meets the dry air around it, reminding you that water ultimately outlasts the fire. A riverstone, polished to a watery sheen, is your token. It reminds you to absorb the sky's fury and retain the core of yourself, even after the rough edges have been knocked away. For those of you born under the sign of the frozen hearth, that is, late winter to early spring, your inner fire is highly sensitive to the overcharged atmosphere. The static may cause your energy to flare unpredictably. You may feel a sudden overwhelming urge to act, to speak, even to run, followed by crushing fatigue. This is a test of your endurance. Do not waste your precious energy on empty air. The steady flow of the falls now surges with a wild, erratic power to you, speaking of a current that is both beautiful and dangerous to touch. A piece of wood or stone that catches your eye for no particular reason, yet still resonates with your inner spirit, is a testament to the lightning that you must learn to channel rather than fear. Please remember that despite the mist creeping down the mountain and the air becoming alive with its static charge, you need to watch your steps, to watch your words, and to keep your feet planted firmly upon the earth. But more importantly, recall that these are but whispers from the cosmic currents, glimpses of that which may or may not be. Ultimately, the choices that you make, the actions you choose to take, these are the true shapers of your destiny. And may the light of the moon guide your path through the sparkling fog, and may you find your balance as the great currents shift over the Moonhaven Falls. I am Elara Meadowlight, and this has been your Omen Outcast.
Good afternoon, Moonhaven Falls. I am Ignis, the Scaled Sophisticate. If those of you with a touch of the arcane have felt a slight tickle at the base of your skull today, do not worry. You're not losing your sanity, or at least no more so than usual. The local ley lines, and particularly the great veins that run beneath the Shadowfen and up toward Bahamut's Plateau, are carrying a rather peculiar hum today. It is a disquieting little echo, like a song sung to an empty hall right at the edge of one's hearing. For a mortal, I imagine it must feel like a sudden and unexplainable chill. For myself, it is merely a reminder of how old this valley truly is, of how many secrets still lay buried beneath our feet. It is a quiet, contemplative sort of day today. The answers to last week's questions are as follows: a reed quill, a telescope, an oven, a plumb bob, or plumb line if you prefer, a rope, a sieve, and a book. In honor of the cool breeze that currently tempers the magical currents, my thoughts have drifted toward the more transitional things. The quiet structures of the end, the elegance of that which remains, the beauty of the quiet dark. Let's see if our fated scholars and our local thinkers can find the light in a slightly more shadow-draped gallery this week. Question number 1. I am a cage of pale polished branches that grow sturdier with every passing year, yet have no leaves and carry no fruit. I hold captive a heart within my center and guard a silent mind, but I will only step out into the daylight long after you are finished using me. What am I? The first of 7 dark stones upon the path of contemplation. Do not let the shadows make you hesitate. There is a great order in the quiet. Please feel free to take your parchments to Timmy, and let us see who is truly in tune with the deeper rhythms of the valley. Until next week, Moonhaven, sleep well, if you can.
Good evening, Moonhaven Falls. I am Selene Meadowlight, and this is the Magic Minute. Following the explosive setback of the fire and can experiments, I'm thrilled to report that our upperclassmen have bounced right back with a magnificent and highly lucrative success. Inspired by the fated concept known as a filtration straw, they have successfully manufactured a magical equivalent. Instead of trying to force water through impossible microscopic physical meshes, the students contracted with local water chigwas. By binding tiny microscopic portion of the user's personal energy, the straw temporarily manifests one of these obsessively tidy spirits inside the tube. As you drink, the chigwa aggressively expels anything that is not pure, clean, elemental water. You could sip from a stagnant swamp puddle in the Shadowfen and receive nothing but crisp, clear, mountain spring clean hydration. While not as dizzying a consumer craze as the tap lights, the initial order volume is actually quite a bit larger. Both the local merchants and Lord Kendrick himself found them to be interesting. Lord Kendrick has personally commissioned 5 of these straws for every single patrolman in his service, and he has tasked the senior class with designing a massive, castle-sized version based on a fated concept called a water tower. To keep the campus from collapsing, the faculty has officially institutionalized taplight production into a structured, graded curriculum. This ensures quality control and prevents the underclassmen from working themselves to the point of systemic exhaustion. With the monetary gold rush safely regulated, the lower-level students finally have free time again. No doubt they'll be up to entirely safe, completely non-destructive shenanigans by next Tuesday. There is, of course, absolutely no chance of this backfiring on the staff. This brings us to our artifact of the day, an item that would surely test the patience of any school administrator, the chimes of chiming!
Oh, God, not those.
Yes, Audrick. In appearance, it's a simple, unassuming set of silver-plated wind chimes. However, when struck, even by a gentle breeze, the artifact does not produce a simple metallic ring. Instead, it projects a localized illusion of sound that makes it feel as though a massive 90-piece orchestra of all chimes is playing a triumphant, deafening symphony inside of whatever room the artifact is hanging. It's currently being kept in the station's soundproof booth. Now, let's turn to the inflexible threads. Today we must address the fundamental sensory laws of the arcane, the law of detect magic, and the law of identification.
Alright, I have been waiting on this part of the section, Selene. Let's talk about the sheer mind-boggling bureaucracy of sensing magic in this universe. If a wizard wants to know if an object is magical, they cast Detect Magic. Casting it takes a full 6 seconds, what we have established as one action, just to realize that, yes, there is magic somewhere within a 30-foot radius of me. Then they have to spend another 6 seconds of intense, uninterrupted concentration to see a faint, glowing aura, which will, get this, only allow them to determine what school of magic it is. Even if you know the object you are looking at is magical, you are required to spend 12 seconds of standing still and squinting at the glowing sword in your hand.
Well, the weave is a complex tapestry, Audrick. It requires focus to separate the background magical radiation of the world from a specific enchantment.
Ugh. Fine, I'll give you that. But then, if you actually want to know what the magic item does, the universe demands a completely different spell, Identify, which, by the way, takes a full excruciating minute to cast. Honestly, I can kind of see this one, the logic needing to focus for that one. If you're examining a highly complex, volatile enchantment, sure, you bet. You need a sufficiently pure gemstone to peer through to analyze the magical matrix. That kind of makes sense.
Well,
I'm glad you... But why, by the gods, must the gemstone specifically be a pearl? A pearl is not a clear gemstone. It's completely opaque. You can't look through a pearl to analyze a matrix. You're just staring at a shiny, calcified oyster spit. Why not a diamond, or an emerald, or a piece of jade? Why not the magnifying lens of pure quartz? And don't even get me started on the other component. Why do you have to wave a specific feather from specifically an owl over the item to tell what it does?
well, the owl is a universal symbol of wisdom and acute
It's a bird, Selene. If the magic just needs the physical resonance of a feather, why doesn't a raven feather work? Or a hawk feather? Or, I don't know, the majestic thunderbird? You shouldn't even need a gemstone if you've got one of those. If I try and identify a legendary dragon-slaying sword, but I use a falcon feather by accident instead of an owl feather, the universe literally refuses to let the spell function. It's not magic. It's a celestial filing system run by a cosmic clerk who's entirely too obsessed with poultry and seafood.
Well, the material components of the weave are ancient, Audrick. They're sympathetic anchors. The pearl represents the slow hidden layering of truth over time, and the owl feather represents a silent unraveling of secrets. The cosmos responds pretty well to symbolism, believe it or not just practical optics.
The cosmos needs to learn a lesson in practical inventory management. If I'm stranded in the desert with a mysterious magical ring, I shouldn't have to search for a highly specific mollusk stone and a nocturnal predator's tail feather just to find out if the ring is going to turn me invisible, give me food, or just turn my teeth into solid gold.
Well, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for now. Keep your eyes sharp, your chiqua straws dry, and please, if you find a set of silver wind chimes on your porch, do not shake them. This has been the Magic Minute.
Good evening, Moonhaven Falls. This is Audrick Cashmere. I am currently standing near one of the Magical Academy's sealed labs at a safe, and I do mean safe, distance from what our favorite fated scientist Charles has been calling his galvanic breakthrough. Beside me is Elara Meadowlight, who is looking at a pile of melted glass with a look of what I can only describe as clinical pity. Charles, buddy, you look like you've been standing a bit too close to a dragon sneeze. What happened to your light in a bottle? I don't understand, Audrick. Back home, lightning, electricity, it was the most faithful, obedient servant we had. It follows the path of the wire. It stays where you put it. You insulate it with a bit of rubber or a layer of ceramic. It's obvious. It's predictable. It follows the path of least resistance.
Charles, you're trying to treat the sky's blood like common water. In this world, lightning is not just energy. It's a manifestation of elemental will. It doesn't want to travel through your little copper trails. It wants to find the earth. And it will destroy anything that tries to tell it otherwise.
I saw the flash through the window of the sealed lab. Charles, it looked like the wire just evaporated. It did more than that, Audrick. I used every insulator I could remember. I've tested them all. Porcelain, glass, even thick layers of treated leather. In my world, that would have held back enough power to light a city. But here, the moment the spark hit the wire, the insulators didn't just fail, they spontaneously became conductive. The lightning didn't care about the law of resistance. It just melted through the porcelain as though it was butter, immediately ground it out into the solid stone floor through the layer of rubber. It's like the materials themselves are in on the joke.
That would be because they are, in a sense. The glass and the stone are part of the world's spirit. When you try to force a pure current through them, the magic in the air reacts to the unnatural order of your machine. It grounds out because the earth is literally pulling the anomaly back into itself. Lightning doesn't work that way here, Charles. I told you that. Lightning is a wild thing. It cannot be tamed by your glass tubes with a bit of copper.
So you're telling us that the electric light is a pipe dream? We're sticking with enchanted crystals and oil lamps?
Yeah. It would appear the Crystal Network is the closest I'll ever get to the media of my youth, Audrick. Your crystals use resonance, right? They vibrate with the world. My technology tried using the same principles to rule the world, but it seems Moonhaven doesn't want to be ruled. I can build you better gear, probably. Finn can forge you a better piston, that's for sure, but we're not going to be stringing wires across this town anytime soon, it doesn't seem. This guy here has a temper. Yeah, and it's a temper that nearly took my eyebrows off, and I think did take yours off. Well, I suppose we'll just have to leave the lightning to the clouds and the mages. This is Audrick Cashmere, broadcasting by the grace of crystals and a very, very grounded studio. You're listening to the Crystal Network here at Moonhaven Falls. Thank you for listening, gentle beings, but this concludes our episode for this week. I release a brand new episode every Tuesday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern. If today's journey in our world brought a smile to your face, please consider taking a quick second to share this episode with a friend, a family member, or your favorite online fantasy community. Word of mouth is the absolute lifeblood of independent podcasts like this one. Sending a quick link to just one person who needs a bit of cheer today is the single best way you can help us grow and bring more people to our little corner of the world. As a reminder, I personally create, record, edit, and produce this entire show, with the occasional guest appearance from my wife and children. So, if you'd like to support our work by buying a cup of coffee or a bottle of lemonade once a month, you can find a link to do so in the description, and we would be incredibly grateful. You'll also find links to Ignis's daily challenge on our Facebook and Patreon down there as well. Feel free to pop in and say hello. We'd love to see your answers. To all of our supporters, my family and I would like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for tuning in week after week. I look forward to seeing you in the comments, and I hope you tune in again next Tuesday. Until then, take care.